Hello and welcome to the Move Your Business Forward podcast. These talks are hosted by Rob Boll, founder of Evoke Management and CEO of International Leaders UK. He'll be talking with experts from both these companies about issues that affect SME companies today.
Today, I'm joined by one of my colleagues at Evoke Management, Dave Mutton, and we're talking about customer centricity. And this is all about how can your business be more customer focused, customer centric, and how that is a great leverage to your business to help it grow and basically just deliver the best you can for your client base. So Dave, we often hear about customer centricity and customer centric approach, and some of the big well-known brands out there like Amazon and Apple, we often hear about this is what it's all about, having the customer at the very centric of what they do. When we're talking about SME businesses, not big enterprises like the beasts of Amazon and Apple, what does it all mean to you, Dave? What does it all mean, this customer centric approach to SMEs?
Yeah, I think the key thing about the customer-centric approach, it's about building a deep understanding of your customer and, more importantly, what your customer's needs are, and then ensuring that your business, so whether you're a retailer selling products or you're a service business, making sure that what you do for your customers actually meets their need. And it's starting with that rather than, so it's doing something for the right reason rather than doing it because you can.
And this all sounds good. Practically, do you think it's quite an easy thing to achieve for any business, whether you're selling tangible products or whether you're doing some kind of tangible products and that you actually can touch and feel and buy off the shelf, or whether you're doing a service thing? Do you think this applies to everyone?
I think it can apply to everyone. I mean, if I'll give you an example from the retail space. So back in the day, I used to work in retail in bookselling. The company I worked for had a deliberate policy where we're not allowed to recommend competitors. But we knew that the heavy buying customers, the regular customers, what they wanted was the book that they were looking for. And if we helped them get it, they would remember us as well as where they bought it. So the challenge was getting them to choose you first, to be their default choice. They would come to you because you gave good service. So that can be the same whether you are a retailer or you're providing a service. It's fulfilling that customer need. So I actually booked the trend and I printed out, slips of paper which had the 3 other bookshops in London that I thought would sell the book that the customers might want. And I know for a fact that people came back to me because I was that helpful. So it's about customer experience. It's delivering great value with a friendly smile as well, and helping them get what they need.
And I guess one of the things here is, whatever, if you're selling books or you're selling sofas or you're offering a professional service, it's that customer experience, isn't it? It's from the initial bit of contact, even before they might have spoken to someone. It's something they've seen on a website, it's something they might have seen in a bit of content or something online, all the way through to those conversations, how people respond to an inquiry, how people are trying to understand the customer and engage and build that relationship. It's all of those things. So to me, there's that the bit that the customer sees at the front end, even before contacting person. Then it's either a customer relationships person or a salesperson. But then behind the scenes, everyone in the business, even if they're not touching a customer directly, needs to be thinking, this is what we're all about. Everything behind the scenes in the operations needs to have the customer in mind, even though some people aren't touching those customers. How would you suggest people can kind of approach embedding this kind of customer experience and centric approach throughout the business, even to people that never see or touch a customer?
Well, I think what you're talking about there, to me, it's all about every customer touch point, every time a customer interacts with the business. And, one way of doing this is to do, what's called customer journey analysis. So you literally map out the journey of the customer from the initial discovery, be that online advertising, offline advertising, direct mail, whatever it might be, through to the initial contact, then to the sale If it's a service business, probably a longer sales cycle, or if it's retail, it's just the actual website and buying something or buying something in a physical store, and then through the delivery. So I think Richard Branson talked about this at Virgin. It's about understanding what the customer's needs are and then over exceeding and delighting customers in unusual ways. So that could be, I've had things recently where somebody ordered something from a shop and they had an unexpected extra item in the parcel, just a small gift. It builds that customer delight. One of my contacts went into a coffee shop feeling pretty rough, and he just wanted to get a lens tip. So he said, I'll buy a coffee, but actually can you just put some, give me some hot water? And the guy got the hot water, made something else, added some extra fruit juice and gave it to him free of charge. I just want you to feel good, he said. And this guy said, I'm never going to go to a different coffee shop on my way to work now, because this guy absolutely delighted me and understood what I needed and delivered on it. So it's building that understanding in the business that no matter where you are in that customer journey, you have an opportunity to deliver that extra, go that extra mile and add value.
And how, so one thing is mapping that journey, but you've also got to somehow measure or gauge where things are working well and where things aren't, and where you might have some breaks in your approach to the customer. So what's the best way to kind of measure and improve these touch points?
The very popular method is what's called Net Promoter Score. So the theory behind Net Promoter Score is trying to understand the likely actions of a customer after a brand interaction. So it's a really simple question. It's how likely are you to recommend this product or service to a family or friend? And you have a score of a 0 to 10. And the theory is very simple. If somebody scores you 0 to 6, they're really underwhelmed by your experience, and they're far more likely to say something negative about your business than positive. The other extreme, the 9s and 10s, are far more likely to say something positive and actually recommend. And the 7s and 8s, which in most cases, people think 7 and 8 is actually quite a good score. But the issue is they're not really convinced either way. They're sort of in the middle. And they're not going to do anything positive, but they're not going to do anything negative. So Net Promoter Score, you take the percentage of people who score the 9 or 10, and you subtract the 0 to 6, the detractors, and that gives you your score. So your maximum possible score is 100, but your maximum negative score is also 100. And so the beauty of this system is very, very simple to implement and very easy to work with. But there are lots of data out there about benchmarks for particular sectors and particular business types of business. So you can see where you are. And the general advice is below 0, you're not doing a good job, you need to improve. 0 to 30 is okay, 30 to 50 is pretty good, 50 plus is excellent and world class. So you find companies like Amazon and Apple will be scoring in the 60, 70 plus. Traditionally, a lot of banks and telcos will score low teens or even into negative because they have a lot of negativity about some of their service. But that benchmarking is really important, And then there's 2 ways of doing Net Promoter Score. There's what's called tactical NPS. So you do it on an actual interaction. I'm sure you've had it yourself, Rob. You have an interaction with your mobile phone provider, and straight afterwards you get a text message. How would you recommend this product or service? And then measuring the NPS of that tactical interaction of that customer service rep, and they'll be reporting back to that rep as well. And then you have the strategic NPS, which is something you do to all your customers, maybe once or twice a year. And that's more about the brand and the overall interaction. So really important measures that you can get and benchmark yourself for any business.
And I guess with that, you can apply it multiple times in one customer's journey to buy a product or service, right? You can do it from what was the initial interaction all the way through to the final arrival of the goods, right? So it's a great way to check into different bits of that process you've identified that the customer experiences.
Yeah, exactly. And if you see, a lot of hotels do this, so what was the quality of the check-in process? What was the quality of your room, the cleanliness, the pricing, the meal? So you're looking at different aspects on there. But the overall question is, are you likely to recommend it? And we all know, there's a great quote which goes back to Henry Ford, that it takes 20 years to build a reputation and just 5 minutes to lose it. And, how many times have you been a regular customer from somebody, and then suddenly something just goes really badly wrong, and then that just damages, and you either don't go back or you don't go back for quite a while. So yeah, measuring different points of the journey is important.
Great. Okay. No, I think it's a great point, and I think a lot of people can apply this more than one way, as you say, the strategic, but also in those individual interactions as well. What people do with that, I mean, great. Everyone's in a positive place. Lots of recommendations. That's great. But also, if you're not getting good feedback, what kind of things should people be doing as a reaction to that?
Yeah, well, the Net Promoter Score, the people who created Qualtrics talk about closing the loop. So it isn't just capturing the information. So if somebody gives you a 0 to 6 and they're a detractor, you can do something about it, reach out to them, try to understand what the problem was, try to resolve it. And it's every negative interaction is a learning experience. And then the other extreme, the promoters, if you get a 9 or 10, again, reach out to them, thank them for their feedback, ask them, can we use your feedback? Can you write a testimonial for us? Can you try and actually enhance the fact that they've been happy with your service and push into there? So it's obviously it's really important to feed all this information back into the rest of the team, the rest of the workforce. So it's no point having the CEO getting this report saying, well, your NPS is 26. They didn't do anything about it. So like any data is only useful if you use it to inform your decision making. And NPS gives you the opportunity to understand where in that customer journey there may be issues and maybe challenges, and so you can address them. And it's I also compare it to working in retail for a long time. You always talk about the sales funnel. Take a website from the initial attraction, they arrive on the website, they look at the product, they put it in the basket, and then they purchase. Always looking at every point, where do we lose people, and then trying to understand why you lose them. The same for NPS. Why is it that particular choke point of interaction, the first sales call, or when they walk through the door? Why is it not going well? What can we do about it? So positive action is really important.
And I think this applies to lots of things, doesn't it? Because everyone can generate normally leads to a website, but it's the conversion rate, and all this is doing is improving your conversion rate and encouraging people to come back again and again, and also recommend others as well. And I think this is the thing, isn't it? And this is where I think the customer-centric approach is really it's part of your marketing strategy. It's part of your sales. It's part of everything you're doing to win over the kind of the loyalty of that customer, to get them to make the first purchase, but then keep purchasing again. Dave, I know you've helped a number of companies kind of almost assess, come in and assess how far along this kind of journey of being really focused on customer and that customer-centric approach and helping them improve on it. What's the best examples you've seen of businesses in the SME world doing this? What are the kind of things that you've seen and you think, wow, that's pretty cool, they've really nailed it?
That's a tough question. Recently, I think retail is actually really important. I think retail experience, so not such a small company, but back in the day in the book world, for example, I used to work with Hatchards, which is the rural bookseller on Piccadilly, and they have obviously a very large clientele of famous people, celebrities. They also have the royals coming in. They employed one person whose only job was to stand at the door and greet people as they came in. And of course, they wanted to greet them by name, so they had to learn all the customers, especially all the famous customers. So you can imagine celebrity walked in the door and the front of house manager would say, "Oh, how are you? Nice to see you. Nice to see you back," and then ease them on their journey where they are. So it's just that touch point of the customer. So if you've got a small business in your shop, understanding your loyal customers, your regular customers, and remembering their preferences, remembering their names, so that when they come back into the store, you're greeting them by name. It happens, if you go into your favorite pub or your favorite restaurant, that personal interaction and personal choice can make a big difference.
I think with that, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think we're talking about pubs or restaurants. There's a massive issue with getting staff for some of these venues at the moment, and surely that has an impact on the customer experience. Either the place you want to go to isn't open because they can't open every day, or they're just slow on service because of people. And I think this is where there's lots of opportunity for bits of tech to come in and help. and enhance the experience. Because I see obviously a number of apps that allow you to order and pay, and I think sometimes that's really convenient to actually use an app to order exactly what you want and pay for it, and it's on its way. Other times you might be a bit more relaxed and you want to take your time. You don't mind someone coming over. But to me, it's giving the customer that choice. And I think if you use the app, or an app of some kind, you've got the ability then for whoever's delivering the food or delivering what you've got, you can then customize that experience because you know their name, and you're not worried about getting the order wrong or anything like that, because that's now the customer's fault if they've misordered. But you can actually give them a bit more attention. And I think technology and enhancing the experience in every bit of interaction we have, I think is going to be the way forward, which I think is quite an exciting place to be.
It was one great example I had a few years back. I was traveling over to Boston to a hotel, and I checked in and chatted with the receptionist as I checked in. And I'm a bit of a photographer, you may remember, Rob. So the next morning I got up very early, went out for a beautiful sunrise over the Charles River in Boston. And when I went out, literally, it was like 5:30 in the morning. The receptionist saw me going out, saw me come back, asked what I was doing, and I told them, and I showed them the picture afterwards. I then went off to work for the whole day. And when I came back to my room, in my sort of side table in my hotel room, they had gone and got 6 or 7 different postcard shots of Boston, and they've got a little tissue box and stuck over the logo for Instagram, the camera logo of Instagram, and a handwritten message. Here's some great shots that you might want to try and take. Here's some good locations for your next photographs of Boston. And it was such a delightful thing. I took a picture, I tweeted about it. I'm still talking about it now, 10 years on, because they just went over and above. They didn't need to do that, but it really made that place feel special to me. So any business has the opportunity. That didn't cost very much money, but the time they took to do it really made me a very loyal customer.
Yeah, no, great. And what about worst experiences? Have you ever worked with companies or seen things where you've been involved with trying to help overturn things? All the worst kind of things that you've seen?
I think the scariest phrase I ever hear in the business is, "Well, we've always done it that way."
Yeah.
It's that reluctance to change and the reluctance to accept. And I used to say to people when I used to work in retail, customers are the purpose of your job, not an interruption to it. A member of my staff said, I could get all my work done if the customers didn't stop asking me questions. And he's like, hang on a minute, I think that's what you're here for, So yeah, that it's some companies treat customers like as an asset. Of course you're going to go and shop with us because we're so and so, but they're not. You've got to treat them right. Customers, as I say in the book show, we call them promiscuous. There was a great cartoon I saw recently. There's a guy on LinkedIn, Tom Fishburne, the marketunist. He draws marketing cartoons, and it has a woman standing at the altar with a brand, and she's, I promise to be loyal to you, your brand, unless your competitor is, on sale, or unless you're out of stock, or unless actually you just don't meet my needs at the moment. And that says it all. Treat your customers right, and they'll keep coming back to you first. Yeah, that's the first hurdle.
And I think just one thought there was, I think when you're trying to embed this in the business across the team, you can actually come up with quite a few, simple to understand points that mean, okay, every action or every decision the business is making, however senior or junior you are, you can have some kind of clear guidance on this is how we want to serve our customers. Whether it's to do with response times or how we greet people or going the extra mile. You can set some good kind of boundaries and benchmarks and guidance that means everyone can understand them and go, the key to this business is making sure we always go the extra mile, for example, and then give some examples of how we do that. Or whenever we get an inquiry, we strive to respond within a certain amount of time, but link it to, because it's the customer experience, and that's ultimately going to drive us getting more business, but also just making it easier to win business. I think a lot of people, spent so much time trying to generate leads and generate new business. Once you've done that, you sometimes can lose focus on actually the important bit of making sure that experience is the highest end. And then everything else from that point becomes easier because you've already built up that bit of trust and relationship.
Absolutely. However, there's also a risk there, is that what you find in my experience is when you start really meeting a customer's needs, don't get complacent, because the customer needs will evolve. They will evolve through environmental changes, someone else wants a better product or service, but also because, when they're really happy with you, then they start wanting more, so it's, that's where I think the delight comes in, is looking for ways to delight customers, offer them things they never knew before. At Amazon a long time ago, when I worked when Amazon was launching in the UK, we focused on obviously good PR and good press, and so we identified customers in particular postcode areas in London, and the warehouse was in Slough, and if they'd ordered before a certain time, they would be fast-tracked through the warehouse, picked, packed, driven by van and hand delivered. So someone would order before 11 and the parcel would arrive on their desk in London the same day. And we actually caught a couple of journalists with that, and they were like, oh my God, this is amazing, wrote about the fantastic service. And not everybody had that then, but that eventually evolved into Amazon Prime, and it's now a fundamental part of Amazon's offering, which is you order today, you get it tomorrow.
Yep.
Or in some cases, same day. And I saw recently, Tesco are now competing with the Deliveroos and everything of the world for delivery of grocery shopping. So you can now do a whoosh delivery on Tesco and get Tesco delivery within 60 minutes. So they're absolutely responding. They're watching what their customers are doing. And I saw, Deliveroo start delivering from the co-op. And this is obviously Tesco's response to that. So it's, you can't be complacent. It's always looking to improve.
That delighting the customer just keeps making me think of Apple and the work Steve Jobs was doing in the early days. You're building tech that customers didn't even know was existing or could exist. They were always going above and beyond and selling things that customers didn't even know they wanted because they were ahead of that curve, which I think is fantastic. Dave, we're running out of time, and I think we should finish on one thing. So, delighting the customer. What's your top 3 tips on how to delight a customer, which can apply to any business?
So I think it's building that deep understanding of your customers. So you understand who your customers are, what their needs are, how you can meet that need, but then how you can exceed that need. So if you haven't got that deep understanding, you can't do it. So it's not just doing surveys, but it's get out away from your desk and actually talk to your customers, interact with your customers, watch your customers. That's me the key tip, because they're the key of everything.
Cool. And then once you've got that information, just delight and delight.
You have to act. Look for the opportunity. Look, it's just look for that. Obviously, it's got to be cost effective. It's got to work for the business. But if you can delight the customer, they will come back to you, and then you'll have repeat business, and they'll recommend to your friends, and your business will grow. There are going back to Net Promoter Score. There are stats out there that the high performing NPS scoring companies can have sometimes 2 to 3 times the revenue growth than companies that are low scoring. That's the proof in the pudding. Happy customers come back, buy more, stay longer, recommend to friends.
No, great. Excellent. Dave, look, I've enjoyed talking about this. I think it's a great topic, and I think lots of people can learn a lot from having a better focus on this. And I also think it's a more enjoyable way to work. It's much more comfortable selling and getting more repeat business when you've got delighted customers you're talking to. It just makes everyone's life easier, and I think it's just more fun. Dave, been a pleasure to talk to you about this, and hopefully we can give some insight to people listening to this, and always happy to talk to people as well if they want some tips and advice on this. So thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Rob. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening. If you'd like more information about the topics discussed in this podcast, then you can find us on our website at moveyourbusinessforward.com.